Is it possible to create a bulletproof portfolio? One that gives you a worry-free retirement? You better believe it is. I've been a financial advisor now for over 20 years, and I've helped guide hundreds of families into retirement. And many of those families, that's exactly what they want. They've worked hard for their money their entire life, and the last thing they want to do is to be worried about money in retirement. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you 5 things that you can do to create a more worry-free portfolio, and maybe even, if you do it right, a bulletproof portfolio. Okay, so there's 5 points. The first one is you have to be thinking about what things are going to allow you to avoid anguish when difficult things happen. Now, in English, we have a different word for a high intensity, almost like a needle prick type acuteness of pain that's different than worrying, right? Worrying and anguish are 2 very different things. Anguish is worrying raised to the 10th power, is just a totally different level. So how do you avoid anguish? How do you avoid worrying, high-level worrying? And the first one is you want to make sure that you have many years, not just 1 or 2, but preferably at least 3, maybe 5, maybe even 7 years worth of living expenses that are in worry-free bonds. So what's a worry-free bond? A worry-free bond is a bond that's going to mature in a year, 2 years, 3 years, maybe 4, maybe on the outside 5. We call that short duration, and also high quality. So high quality is a brand name, a company that you're 100% sure, you know what, this company is going to be around in 3 years. I don't mention company names in my videos, but just think, you know, what are the staples that you're buying every day that, you know what, it would be really hard for that company to disappear in a year. Are they going to be relevant? Are they going to be the market leader in 20 years? Nobody knows. But what we care about is getting that bond paid back to us. So super high quality, zero doubt in your mind that you're going to get paid back in short duration. Short duration for several reasons. One is you want to have a year's worth of living expense that's going to mature in a year. So we line up our portfolio to deliver what our goals are. So let's say we want $50,000 a year to live on. So we would have bonds, high quality bonds, that are going to mature in 12 months for that year's worth of expenses. And we're currently living on the bonds that matured a year ago. And after the next 12 months, we're going to live on the bonds that are maturing in 12 months, in 13 months. So we want to match up our need for cash with the bonds that are maturing. So that's number 1, is just not having to worry about what I call being a forced seller in a down market. You know, if the market's down 20 or 30%, and you do not have to sell any stocks to meet your living expenses, yes, it's worrisome. Yes, it's something that catches your attention. Yes, you might lose a little bit of sleep over it, but nowhere near like what you're going to do if you have to sell stocks in 3 months, in 6 months, in 9 months to meet your living expenses. So one of the key tenets, one of the key principles of a worry-free portfolio is you have to give up taking all the nickels and dimes off the table, the optimization that comes with, well, I want to leave my money in the stock market until I need it. Well, that's great, you know, as long as the stock market's going up. But you've also put yourself in a situation where you're a forced seller. If your stocks have gone down 30%, look at COVID, at the start of COVID. In a very short period of time, it was the quickest drop in US history ever. I believe it was 3-4 weeks maximum. The S&P 500 was down almost 20%. If you needed cash during that period of time, you didn't have a choice. You had to sell at low prices if that was the only way that you had cash. So in order to have a worry-free retirement, We have to optimize on worry-free retirement as opposed to squeaking out every ounce of performance. So that's the first one. The second one is I want you to think about the lifestyle that you want to have in retirement. Do you want to be worried about managing your investments? Both, do you have rental properties, for instance? Or do you just have passive investments? Personally, I'm biased. I like the stock market, and I like the stock market because it doesn't take any effort on my part. I have to do the effort on the research, but as far as once I've done the research and I've built a portfolio, I don't have to run those companies, right? Where if I had rental properties, if I had rental income coming in, I have a tenant problem, I have to take care of that. I have a water heater that breaks, I have to take care of it. That's called active investing. And there's nothing wrong with that. Many of my clients have built up their net worth through real estate. But when they retire, I had one client tell me, I no longer want to be a rancher. I want to be a farmer. I don't want to be herding those cows. I just want to reap the benefits of the harvest. And my grandfather was a farmer, so no disrespect to the farmer with that analogy. Yes, farming is a very active, very difficult occupation to do, but I think the analogy is fun and it's interesting. Not being a rancher, not chasing cows, not on your horse rounding up the cattle, but a farmer, just bringing in the harvest. So I want you to be thinking about that. Let's optimize. If you want a worry-free retirement, you have to do things that are consistent with a worry-free investment. So likely rental properties are not consistent with that. Okay, the next thing, if you want a worry-free retirement, you know what, in all candor, your health is a heck of a lot more important than your bank account balance. So that's the next thing I want you to do. I want you to focus, I want you to spend time, I want you to invest in your health. Do what you can. We can only do so much, but if I have a heart attack, if I have a stroke, if I get a cancer diagnosis, you know what? I've done the best I can. I work out as often as I can. I try to work out at least 5 days a week. My goal is 7. That doesn't happen most weeks, but I try to draw a line in the sand and say at least 5. I'm vegan-ish. For many years, I was completely vegan, so I've done what I can, and the rest is genes, is genetics. And I want you to feel that way as well. I want you to think you've done everything that you can. You're investing the time to grocery shop and pick out good food. You're investing money to buy the highest quality food that you can do. So I want you to be able to look at this and say, I've done what I can. You've worked out, etc. And we can't control the uncontrollable. It doesn't mean I'm not going to get a cancer diagnosis. It doesn't mean I'm not going to get a heart attack. But at least I know that I've done what I can. So again, your health is a heck of a lot more important than your wealth. And so part of a worry-free retirement is being healthy. Okay, part of a worry-free retirement as well is being happy. And what are the things that lead to happiness, right? I can tell you that the stuff that comes in cardboard boxes from Amazon every week, for most of us, that's not going to lead to happiness. So happiness is experiences for most of us. Happiness is adventures. And most importantly, happiness is relationships. One of the longest running human studies is a study on happiness that Harvard has done. And it's called the longitudinal study. It follows people throughout their lifetime. And in retirement, the number one factor for the happiness, the contentment that retirees have is really relationships. So, think of yourself, I'll go back to being the farmer. Think of yourself as a farmer, right? I mean, there's certain plant species that you want to thrive and grow, and so you nurture those. There's some in the back 40 that maybe you haven't paid as much attention to as you should. Old friends from high school and college, reconnect with them. I know it might seem weird for somebody that you haven't talked to for 20 to 30 years, but if you really vibed with them when you're in high school or college, reach out. I'm sure that they would love to hear from you. I recently had a friend of mine from my undergrad reach out to me, and we hadn't talked much at all since we graduated college. And it was great to hear, you know, in his case, he was still working, and hear what his kids were doing, and to connect. I did not think it was weird at all, and I don't think your friends will think it's weird. So reach out. That's the Back 40 friends. And then, just like any good farmer, you know, we got to keep the weeds away. And the weeds are the people that don't uplift you, that when you're done with a conversation with them, if you have any friends where when you're done talking to them, you feel worse about yourself rather than better, you know, those are probably the weeds in your life. And we either need to get those folks on track with what it means to be our friend. You know, we're going to do what we can to be their cheerleader and help them be the best version of themselves that they can be and enjoy the journey. And I want you to have that same standard for your friends. So just, you know, unfortunately, it might mean just like a farmer, you know, sometimes they have to prune the field. They have to pull the weed and say, okay, this plant doesn't belong here. And, you know, I'm going to share again that when we're 60 years old, you know, we likely only have 1,000 weeks of healthy, active time. And I don't want those to just be days and weeks in the calendar. I want those to be relationships. I want those to be opportunities to do exciting and fun things. So I want them to be the best 1,000 weeks of your life. And if you want to learn more about that, I did a video up here, which is 5 reasons to retire as soon as you can. It's kind of a sales job on retiring early. If you're in your 50s or early 60s, watch this video and see if it's something you might want to have on your radar screen. 5 reasons to retire as soon as you can. Thanks for watching this video. Bye-bye.